Imagine a city so desperate to change its image that it launches 1.5 million balloons into the sky. A beautiful, harmless spectacle, right? What if I told you this vibrant celebration turned into an environmental catastrophe that shut down an airport, caused countless car crashes, and tragically, may have cost 2 people their lives? This is the story of Balloonfest '86, a day Cleveland tried to make history, but instead created a disaster for the ages. Back in the mid-1980s, Cleveland had a bit of an image problem. It was often called the mistake on the lake, a nickname born from years of economic decline, and even a river that famously caught fire. City leaders and the United Way of Cleveland wanted to change that narrative. They needed something big, something spectacular, something that would put Cleveland on the map for all the right reasons. Their idea? To shatter a world record. The year before, Disneyland had set the Guinness World Record for the largest simultaneous balloon launch. Cleveland decided it could do better, much better. The plan was to release a staggering 1.5 million balloons over the city's public square. It was conceived as both a massive charity fundraiser and a stunning PR move. For 6 long months, an army of volunteers and organizers worked tirelessly. They constructed a colossal net, the size of an entire city block, to hold the balloons. Then came the Herculean task of filling them all. Thousands of high school students and other volunteers spent hours upon hours inflating each and every one of the 1.5 million balloons with helium. The anticipation was electric. This was going to be Cleveland's moment. The big day was set for Saturday, September 27, 1986, but a dark cloud, both literally and figuratively, was already gathering on the horizon. The night before, a severe thunderstorm had rolled across Lake Erie, just east of the city. Unbeknownst to the event organizers, this storm had a tragic consequence. 2 fishermen, Raymond Broderick and Bernard Sulzer, had gone out on the lake early that morning. Their 16-foot boat was later found anchored, but the men were nowhere to be seen. The Coast Guard immediately launched a search and rescue operation. Meanwhile, downtown, the mood was anything but somber. Over 100,000 people packed into Public Square, their eyes turned to the sky, eagerly awaiting the historic launch. The giant net, bulging with a rainbow of 1.5 million balloons, was a sight to behold. But as the day wore on, the weather began to turn. Another storm system, bringing cold air and rain, was barreling toward Cleveland. The organizers faced a dilemma. The balloons were already filled. The helium wouldn't last forever. Postponing was a logistical nightmare. They made a fateful decision to release the balloons early at 1:50 p.m., hoping to get the launch in before the storm hit. And so, with a roar from the crowd, the net was released. A tidal wave of color erupted into the sky. For a few breathtaking moments, it was everything they had hoped for. A spectacular, mesmerizing cloud of joy that painted the gray Cleveland sky. News reports from the time captured the sheer awe of the moment. It seemed like a tremendous triumph. The city had done it. The plan was simple. Helium-filled latex balloons would rise, float gracefully until they eventually lost their helium, and then slowly drift back down to Earth, biodegrading over time. But nature had other plans. The incoming cold front and rain acted like a giant lid, pushing the massive balloon cloud back down toward the ground far sooner than anyone had anticipated. And they didn't just drift down. They descended en masse. What had been a beautiful spectacle in the sky quickly became chaos on the ground. The city was suddenly inundated. Burke Lakefront Airport, located right on the shore of Lake Erie, was one of the first victims. Its runways were completely blanketed with balloons, forcing the airport to shut down all operations for about half an hour. On the roads, drivers were suddenly blinded by a dense curtain of latex. The slippery, rain-soaked balloons caused numerous car accidents across the region as people swerved and slammed on their brakes. Major roads had to be closed. It got so bad that bulldozers had to be brought in just to clear the streets. One local resident described it as a surreal, almost apocalyptic scene. Imagine driving home and suddenly having your world turn into a sea of red, yellow, and blue plastic. But the most devastating consequence was yet to unfold out on the choppy waters of Lake Erie. As the balloon cloud was pushed down, an estimated 60% of the 1.5 million balloons, that's nearly 1 million balloons, landed on the lake, right in the middle of the Coast Guard search area for the 2 missing fishermen. A Coast Guard helicopter pilot described the scene as being like trying to find a needle in a haystack. The surface of the water was a dense, bobbing blanket of color. From the air, it was impossible to distinguish a balloon from a life jacket, or tragically, a human head. The search was critically hampered. Every potential sighting had to be investigated, wasting precious time as they sorted through the endless balloon debris. The search for Raymond Broderick and Bernard Sulzer was a race against time, and Balloonfest had just put an impossible obstacle in the way. For 2 more days, the Coast Guard tried to continue their search, but the conditions were hopeless. On Monday, September 29th, the search was officially called off. Shortly after, the bodies of the 2 fishermen washed ashore. The wife of one of the men later sued the United Way and the balloon company for $3.2 million, claiming that the festival had directly interfered with the rescue, a lawsuit that was eventually settled out of court. So what was the legacy of Balloonfest '86? Well, for a brief moment, it did achieve its goal. It was recorded in the 1988 edition of the Guinness Book of World Records for the largest ever mass balloon release, but the notoriety was short-lived. In the wake of the disaster and growing environmental concerns, Guinness wisely decided to eliminate the category altogether. You can't break a record that no longer exists. Instead of becoming a symbol of civic pride, Balloonfest became a cautionary tale. It's a stark reminder of what can happen when ambition overlooks common sense, when a grand spectacle ignores basic risk assessment. The event, meant to wash away the mistake on the lake moniker, ironically created a whole new, much more tragic mistake. It's a story of good intentions gone horribly wrong, a day when a city reached for the sky, only to bring disaster crashing back down to earth. Thank you so much for watching. What do you think? Was this just an unfortunate accident or a case of gross negligence? Let me know in the comments below. And if you found this story as fascinating as I did, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into forgotten history. See you next time.